Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And in this 10-minute moan, the topic is a pretty bizarre story that's popped up in the Scottish Daily Express, where they claim the Scottish Greens are at war as accusations of bullying and misogyny are thrown at Ross Greer, right? So, just before we start, people often ask, how can they help the channel? Well, you can subscribe, you can even become a member, but the easiest thing to do, click the thumbs up down below the video, and that'll help the reach fantastically. So thanks if you can do that. So, the party has become embroiled in a bitter civil war since being kicked out of government, with a rebellious faction apparently wanting Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater to stand down. Can't disagree with him so far. The Scottish Green Party is in a state of open civil war, with party loyalists and rebels launching brutal attacks at each other. Rebels have demanded co-leaders Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater go, and there's also been calls for the deselection of all Green MSPs. I'm not really quite sure how you do that. How can you deselect somebody that's been voted in by the electorate and not by the Green Party members? But however, they want them deselected, whatever that means. One rebel said, "I'd be very worried if I was at the top of the party." Oh, scary stuff indeed. Rebels are said to be furious at the handling of the Butte House Agreement and say the party should have left government before being pushed. Well, that would probably be non-democratic, because you had already agreed as a party that you would have a member vote on the Butte House Agreement. So now these people think that they should have left without giving the party members their vote. That's a bit bizarre as well. Anyway, calling the events humiliating, they also accuse the leaders and MSPs of selling out the party's value for power. According to the Herald on Sunday, rebels are particularly furious with prominent Green MSP Ross Greer. So is the rest of the country, right? He's been the architect of the deal and blamed for the concessions the party made to the SNP while in government. I'd love to know what these concessions that they've made to the SNP are, because from an outsider it looks as if they're bowed to everything that the crackpot Greens have ever wanted. Greer was accused of being the Peter Mandelson figure who pulled the strings of co-leaders Patrick Harvie and Lorna Slater. Rebels claim he wants to take over as co-leader if Harvie and Slater are forced out or resign. They described that as the nightmare scenario. It was said Greer wants to be, you waiting for this, the first Green First Minister. Now, I'm not quite sure on what planet these people live on, but I'd love to know what set of events would actually ever lead to Ross Greer wanting to be the first Green First Minister. But if that is Ross Greer's wishes, then he's just really cemented my belief that he's barking, okay? So, but the other thing I don't disagree with, I think if Harvie or Slater, now remember Harvie said that if he was to no longer be a minister, he would stand down from his role as co-leader. Now, I know he said that when there was discussions when the members of the Green Party were looking to put the Butte House Agreement in the bin. So he could technically not be lying, but that was his words. So if he did resign as the co-leader of the party, that would leave the door open, because of this bizarre rule where their statutes quite clearly state that they should have co-leaders. One should be a man, one should be a woman. I'm not sure what that leaves you with sort of non-binary and transgender people, but that's what it says, right? So I'm surprised they don't have three. One for a man, one for a woman, and one for a non-binary, but who am I to tell the Greens how to deal with their transgender issues? I digress. He was accused of cronyism, this is Ross, and centralising power around himself. Accusations of misogyny were levelled, but not of a sexual misconduct or inappropriate behaviour or language. The accusations centre on claims that he was significantly more patronising towards women than men. Wow. I don't even know if that's possible, because I've seen the way he speaks to some guys and he's the most patronising little twat I've ever seen. So if these people think he's even more patronising towards women, it must be gone some. In an interview with the Herald on Sunday, Greer hit back saying there is a problem of bullying and toxic culture in our party. There you are. But blamed it on the rebel faction, the other guys, who he described as a small group of individuals consistently unwilling to respect the views of other party members and the democratic decisions the party made. He added that his job as co-chair was to protect our staff who have come under some of the most horrendous bullying from a small number of individuals. Because I've stood up to them, I've become an obsessive target for this group. I'm proud I've stood up against them, particularly in the way they've treated women who work for the party and the parliamentary group. Frankly, I'd rather they continue targeting me than some much more vulnerable people that have spent the last 2.5 years bullying. Now, this is a bit mad, right? Because what he's basically saying there is, one half, or maybe no half, but some of the Green Party are saying the other side are bullies and misogynist. And the guy in the other half is pointing the finger some way. So what we've learned there is the Green Party are definitely bullying and misogynistic. Because one of them will be right and one of them will be wrong. Or they both could be right, I suppose. But if the both of them aren't wrong, then this Green Party are not just as wee squeaky clean as they expect the rest of us to be, which I find mildly amusing. Where are we? On the allegations of misogyny by being dismissive towards women, Greer said, "I'm proud of the fact that we as a party take such a strong position against misogyny and toxic masculinity." These are proper buzzwords. That any behaviour like that would result in complaints and a disciplinary process. Greer said he'd stood up to people who had carried out misogynistic bullying of women in the party. There he's making more claims that people in the Greens are misogynistic and bullying and bullies. Adding, as a result, these people targeted me. Greer said if the misogyny allegations against me were true, then I'd have been out on my ear long before now, and frankly, I'd have deserved it. Here endeth the sermon. Right? They're mad, aren't they? They're proper bonkers. But one thing that unless we're going to say that they're liars, and let's give them a benefit of doubt and they're no liars, somebody's telling the truth. We now have the Green Party accepting and confirming that there is bullying and misogyny within their party. These people are normally the most self-righteous in the world. They can do no wrong. They're the leftists of the left, right? They're the wokest of the woke. But now, two sides of their party are pointing the finger at the other side and saying they're misogynistic and saying they're bullies. So there you have it. Not my words, not my opinion, merely the opinion and the words of those within the Green Party. These people are bonkers. I don't know what role they have in politics, if I'm perfectly honest. But again, it's just another example of a week ago, everything was rosy. Everything was fantastic at the start of last week. Now, the wheels fall off it because they get papped out in their arse from the Scottish Government. Suddenly, all hell's broken loose. And I thoroughly believe it's the same within the SNP right now. The only thing that the SNP benefit from is they're a tiny wee bit more grown up. They're a tiny wee bit more experience of this stuff. So they're a tiny wee bit better at covering it up. But the chinks in the armour are already starting to show with them as well. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, click a thumbs up. If you're not already done so, please consider subscribing and hitting the notifications, and YouTube will tell you when I've got a video coming out. But as I say at the end of all my videos, unless you're Humza Yousaf, the SNP are what's left of their cult, and unless you're Patrick Harvey, Lorna Slater or Ross Greer, everybody else in the world, have a great day. Cheery bye now.